Hello, everyone. My name is Diana de la Cruz Aparicio. My pronouns are she, hers. I am a retention specialist in the Academic Advancement Center. Today, I will be talking about graduate school. Welcome to this presentation, which is called Graduate School 101. This is available for all students in the Thrive program, both classic and in STEM. So let's go ahead and get started. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about today is just the general breakdown of understanding graduate school, which is why it's called Graduate School 101. So what are some of the, just like the generic pieces that are really good to know? So some of these pieces are the things that we talked about in the recent AEC Graduate School Conference. And so if you attended that, just know that some of these pieces might be a little bit repetitive. And if you're wanting to know a little bit more about graduate school after this presentation, please engage in the conference resources. We will be emailing all AAC students all of the conference presentations, the session recordings, the handouts, and all resources that were available for that day. So just make sure to keep an eye on that. It should be on our website as well, and you should be getting an email from me about that. So some of the things that we'll be talking about today include why graduate school, breakdown of degree options, so understanding those pieces, some of the things that you can be doing now to prepare, or just things to consider, even if you're not really sure right now if you're wanting to attend, but good things to know. We'll talk about funding. That's always like a huge piece for students to know. And then we'll talk about resources. So the first thing that we want to start off with is like why graduate school. So this isn't a presentation to promote it. Really, it's not to give you a breakdown of the benefits on why you should go to graduate school, but more of a reflective question for students to think about for themselves. And if this is something that you've thought about lately, I would say like revisit this every semester or every academic year and just moving forward. If you are certain that you want to attend graduate school, I think this activity also will be important for folks to consider every semester, just as like a reflection on how they've been growing. Does this still apply to me? Have there been any major changes that have impacted my reflection? So the reflection piece that I want folks to think about, and I got this resource from the Career Center, so we'll be talking about the Career Center a lot throughout this presentation. The first piece of understanding your goals and how it connects to graduate school, you'll see here is that this statement reads, my career goals are, and we want folks to think about what are some of those career goals. So take some time during this presentation. If you want to pause it here, please do so now, and write out on a piece of paper, maybe in your planner, something that you'll revisit, and write out what are some of your career goals. Great. So now that you've written out some career goals, the next important piece with this reflection is writing out why graduate school is going to help you, right? So my career goals are ... Graduate school will help because, right? So how does graduate school help you reach your career goals? So take some time also to now reflect about these pieces. So now that folks have written out some of these pieces and reflected a little bit about their career goals and why graduate school will help reach those career goals, think about how that activity was for you. So how was the first portion of just writing out career goals? Was it easy for you? Did you have a hard time doing this? Was it easy because you clearly could outline some of those career goals for yourself? And you've thought about this before, you can really understand your field and know what options you have? Or was it challenging where it just felt really vague? Some of your answers felt really vague. It wasn't very descriptive. You weren't too sure what career options you have in your field. So think about those pieces. And also think about now, why would we ask you to outline your career goals? So a big part of this presentation is really helping students think about how important it is to really understand your field. And I think that does take time, right? And that's okay. I think that we just want students to know that that's a big part of students making the decision to go to graduate school. So let's move on to the next piece. So now reflecting about graduate school. So think again, how was this activity for you? Did you have an easy time writing out like how graduate school is going to help you because you've done the research? Um, you know that the specific positions that you're interested in based on internship experiences or attending the career fair, you know that they're asking for a master's degree, or you know that based on where your interests are right now, that the next level is going to be a PhD program because that your career goal is within that area, right? Or was this a little bit challenging because you're not too familiar with graduate school? And that's okay. This activity we do with students in all levels of graduate school interest. So it can be like this presentation, Graduate School 101, so just giving the breakdown for folks who are just exploring that, all the way up until students who are for sure wanting to attend graduate school. They know those pieces, but we're really wanting to get down on the specifics on like, okay, what kind of program? Why are you attending at this point? Right now, right after undergrad, or taking some time off, right? So think about all those pieces when you do this activity moving forward for yourself, and continue to ask yourself these questions moving forward. Graduate school might have not aligned with your career goals, right? You know exactly what you want to do after undergrad, or you know that you're not too sure if that's what you need at the moment, and that's okay. Again, this presentation is not to promote graduate school for students. It's more just to get folks thinking about like, is this what I need right now? Do I understand these pieces for myself? And we'll talk about like why all of these things are really important to think about. So again, we encourage you to continue to reflect on these questions, these prompts, and just this activity moving forward as you continue to learn about graduate school. So thanks for engaging with me on that. So now let's just move on and talk a little bit about the different degrees that are out there for graduate school. So I'll give a few examples, talk a little bit about the years, what it's focused, what are the focuses of the program, how it can help you, and some examples of those degrees. So let's start off with a master's. Typically a master's degree is 1 to 2 years. Students in master's degrees are specializing in an area of study, so really mastering a subject. Typically master's programs also focus on the thesis or capstone project. So maybe that is doing a little bit of research in a topic in your field and applying that to the field, right? A capstone project might be very similar. So it includes basically like a paper, really. This can also help with advanced or executive level positions. And so again, this goes back to the question on like, is this something that you need at the moment right now, or you know for certain that the specific position that you are wanting to be in because you've had experience through an internship or you've been doing your research on it is asking for a master's degree, right? So it's just good to know those pieces. It might not be something that you need right after undergrad, but maybe down the line. And so we just want to also name that it's important for folks to think about just like the timing of graduate school. It doesn't have to be right after undergrad. It's not a linear process for everyone. Some examples of master's degrees include cell and molecular biology, computer engineering, animal sciences. And so now PhD program. So a PhD program can be anywhere from 3 to 7 years. You are completing typically a dissertation, which is you're doing your own research paper. So it's like a huge project that you're working on throughout your time in the program. It's very research and theory focused. Again, depending on the program, it might be very different in some STEM related fields. In a PhD program, you're typically creating new knowledge versus in a master's degree where you're specializing in an area of study, right? So here in a PhD program, you're doing a lot of that research. You're building a lot of the new knowledge for your field. and you're doing work that has not been done before, you're really trying to bring more information to the field, and just contribute original research that's going to be helpful for anyone who's going to be in that field moving forward. So with the PhD degree, folks are qualified to work as an expert in a particular area. So some examples include, right, again, computer engineering, animal sciences, bioengineering. Some of the things to know in regards to master's and the PhD program is that not all programs will, or not all fields will require master's. Maybe some students will graduate and then pursue a PhD program. So it's really good to understand your field in that way. We'll continue to talk about in this presentation how you can continue to explore your field, but it's good to know that these are not linear, right? So you're not going from under a bachelor's degree to master's to PhD. Some folks do, and maybe that's the way the field wants you to do it, but it's good to know that that doesn't always happen. So continuing to talk about more degrees, now I want to mention certificate programs. So certificate programs can be 1 or 2 semesters. This are specialized in a topic area, can sometimes be used to satisfy degree requirements for a master's degree, depending upon institution requirements. They might be offered fully virtual, might be I've seen some certificate programs that can be free, or if you're working for an employer, they could cover the cost of a certificate program. So sometimes students will do a certificate program before going on to a master's or a PhD because maybe they just want to get an idea of what the program might look like, right? Get a little bit of that practice and then apply, and then having that certificate program be a part of your resume and experience is always great to have it on an application. So just know that that tends to happen. Some of these certificate programs can include like applied finance, data engineering, things like that. And then the other degree that I want to talk about is just professional degrees. So these are designed to prepare people for practice-oriented occupations. So very specific skills and knowledge required, even for entry-level positions. So some of this might include doctor of medicine, doctor of veterinary medicine. So some of those are very specific just to the field. So again, these are all going to be dependent on your field. And I think the more you talk about your field or engage with like conversations with the advisors, with your peers, faculty, attend events on campus, I think you'll get a better and clear idea like what a degree is more applicable to your field. So what are some things that you can be doing now to prepare? And again, this is not to prepare to like attend graduate school, but like just have some things in mind as you are continuing to explore the idea of graduate school. So I've been going, I've kept mentioning in this presentation, exploring your field, and that's the first thing that I do want to talk about and how important this is. So it's just really important to talk about what are some of those opportunities and why it's so critical for folks to really understand their field. And so some of the things that you can do to do that is talk to your professors, right? So think about attending office hours. And this can also include professors who you haven't had. Maybe you look at your department website and do a little bit of research on the professors who are doing work. Typically, you can find all their research and all the work that they're doing online in their bios. And if a professor sticks out to you because they're doing something that you're interested in, but you're not entirely sure what that means, it's totally okay to set up an appointment and talk to these professors. Share a little bit about your interests, your goals, and ask them about the field, ask them about their experience. They're the folks who understand your field, right? They all have different experiences. And so really take advantage of these folks on campus while you're a student. It could be a great experience. Another piece is attending events on campus related to your field, and I'll continue to talk about that throughout this presentation. So that can include anything in your department, within the university, offices that you're involved with, like the AEC, right? Maybe there's a panel for graduate students, or maybe there's a panel for current employers or employees who maybe share similar experiences and interests as you, and you're really wanting to know a little bit about their experiences, their paths, what they did to get to where they are, right? So that's always a great thing to do as well. Another piece is connect with current grad students in your field. I think this is something that um, you don't have to do like right now, but if you really start thinking about graduate school and are really considering it, um, connecting with students, current graduate students, a way that you can do that is through LinkedIn, looking up the institution, seeing what students are connected to that specific program. If they update their LinkedIn, you'll be able to see current students, alumni, things like that. And just going to any program open house, sometimes students will be there, current students who want to share a little bit about their experience. And also shadow, right? So shadowing, job shadowing, maybe like a peer or mentor that you have who's like in the field, and just really talking to them about their experience, about their position. Um, I think that's always like underrated opportunity, and it's totally okay to do this, as long as you all outline what are some of the goals, what's appropriate for the role, things like that. And the second thing that I want to talk about is engaging in professional slash personal development. And so really think about like what are some experiences that you want to engage in as a student now? Like, how do you want to shape your undergrad experience? And I think it's always good to find a balance between like social pieces in undergrad and also professional and personal development opportunities. I think that there are a lot of opportunities that are available for students on campus. So really think about how are these things going to help you long term. And so again, some of these examples include like engaging in student organizations on campus. Some of those might include social pieces. And again, some of those student organizations could also be very focused on your degree, or not your degree, sorry, your field. And so student organizations that are focused on career development typically offer a lot of great resources. So what they'll do is offer like practical experience for their members. And so they might host a networking event, bring in employers. They'll might host like a um, workshop that's focused on like providing support for resumes. Maybe they'll do volunteer work within the field, right? And so these student organizations are meant to help students gain practical experience and get the resources that they need for them to be successful in their field. Also think about how you're just taking advantage of the things that you're seeing on campus, right? Again, these are department workshops as an example. So if your department is hosting like its own small career fair, or maybe they're doing a networking event, I think as a student, when I think about these things, I was not thinking about like how important networking was, right? I was like, no, I don't know if I want to do that. Maybe I'm not ready for that, but I don't think it's ever too late or too early to engage in these type of opportunities. I think the more you get familiar with them and comfortable, I think that the more you start to think about how helpful and real like applicable they are into your development. So just think about and keep an eye out on other things that are coming from your department. Internships, some programs might require for students to do internships. And so really be thoughtful about how you're engaging in this opportunity. Are you just going into an internship because you want to check off the requirement for your degree, or are you really wanting to find an internship opportunity that you're really passionate about, or you're really wanting to know like what the experience might be, because it might alter long-term your goals, right? And so these internships are very critical. And so really be thinking about how you're being intentional about those, and check in with your professors and advisors for support if you're not getting what you need through these internship experiences. Another thing that you can do now is explore programs. You can start doing that now. Again, you don't have to just to look at like what you want to apply for, but just to get familiar with what are the graduate programs in your field? What are they asking for? Because they might be asking for very tangible experiences, right? So if you don't have an internship, thinking about, okay, like this, I know a lot of programs in my field are asking for experience. So how can I engage in more internship experience? Or my program wants me to do clinical hours. How am I doing that now as an undergrad student? Because maybe in your classes now, they're not asking you to do that, but those are things that you're doing on your own outside of the classroom. Um, Maybe there's a GPA requirement, and you're right at the cusp of that requirement. So how can you stay on top of that? So just thinking about little things that you can be doing now, and doing research on those programs now can give you an idea on like how to prepare rather than waiting until you're ready to apply your last year, or maybe you've already graduated and you're ready to apply, but maybe you didn't know that they were asking for specific class requirements and you've already graduated and you don't meet some of those class requirements that the program is asking for. So again, this is totally up to you. I know it can be a lot to look at graduate programs, but just kind of like browsing through some of those pieces and make sure that you're tracking that information somewhere. All right, so I think the next piece that's going to be important to talk about is just like a timeline to consider. I briefly like touched on these, but now I just want to give you a visual. I just want to start off with the pieces here. So this can be anyone. Um, Things to consider is just making sure that you try to maintain a good GPA, right? It doesn't have to be a 4.0. I think everyone has different journeys throughout their undergrad, but just be thinking about if you're doing research in graduate programs or asking for 3.5 or 3.0, that you're keeping an eye on that. The next thing is just gaining relevant field and research experience. We've talked about that. Again, this is important for undergrads and students who are getting ready to graduate. If you're taking some time off, right, getting some of that practical experience. And then another piece that you can be doing now is getting to know your faculty members. And this is important for two reasons. One is to just understand the field a little bit more. And two is you really want to make sure that you are leaving your undergrad experience with connections, and having a faculty member connection is always just really awesome, because you might need a lot of recommendation down the road. And some programs will ask specifically for like faculty recommendation letters, right? And so you want to make sure that you're building those relationships now. And again, these don't have to be professors that you've had in the classes or that you currently have. Definitely do your research and definitely engage in those office hours to continue to build those relationships with professors. Things that you can be doing your third year, also known as junior year, is research graduate programs and potential faculty advisors. The faculty advisors are the folks in the program who do play a big role in your admittance into a program. And so making sure you take a look at what is their focus in the program, what are they doing research on, are they taking on any new advisories, things like that. So just make sure to look at faculty advisors. At this point, you're going to also just want to send out information requests to schools, getting to know a little bit more about that. So do the outreach, making sure that you outline and determine all the requirements for applications, deadlines, and some. Think about that as well. Study for and possibly take entrance exams. So that includes maybe the GRE, the GMAT, the LSAT, MCAT, all those things. Sign up for any additional classes you may need for senior year. And then now going into your senior year, so some things to consider for September and October is request letters of recommendation from faculty. Again, this is based upon what your program is asking for. Might be faculty or it might be an advisor, anyone else. So think about who are the people who you can ask. And I think a activity to do at this point now is also outline who are three people that you feel confident at this point you could ask for a letter of recommendation for anything. If that list for you is small, or maybe you're having a hard time thinking of folks, think about that, right? How can you continue to engage and build those relationships? Talk about your goals, talk about graduate school, right? And so making sure that you're also including faculty in that conversation. At this point, you'll also take any required entrance exams. You'll contact prospective faculty advisors about your interest in that, right? And they'll let you know if they are taking any students because that plays a huge role in your program experience. And you, at this point, will start preparing application materials. You also should be asking about assistantships and research, other financial possibilities, because that will be a separate application typically. By November, December, you'll send in applications depending on the program. Some might be in January, so just know your deadlines. Order your official transcripts. If the program is asking for official transcripts, you can do that through the registrar's office. You'll also be applying for those assistantships and fellowships, and we'll talk about what each of those are. And then by January, February, and March, you'll arrange school visits, maybe schedule any interviews if applicable. And then by April, it's not listed on here, but April is usually decision making time. April 15th tends to be the deadline for graduate program decisions. So just know those deadlines as well and follow through with those decisions. So just want to talk about funding. There was verbiage in that last slide about fellowships, assistantships. Just want to break that down for folks a little bit more. So I want to start off with graduate fellowships. So graduate fellowships is like work in your academic field for pay. So you're getting that experience while getting paid for it. Some include work obligations, but maybe only academic ones. So some fellowships just might require you to have a specific GPA, or maybe some will ask you for some work, right? Regardless, you're still getting paid for some of these pieces. So some of these can be housed within your institution, or might be local, or might be like by the government, like federal pieces. So just know that fellowships can come from different institutions. Assistantships, so you're basically working at your institution, and in return, they're paying you through either a stipend, or maybe they're paying portion of your tuition, right? So you're getting that practical experience again with your institution, maybe doing research, maybe you're working in a specific office. They always are related to your field, and you're getting paid for them. The difference between the assistantships and the fellowships is that some fellowships might not require, some won't require work obligations, but assistantships they typically all do require work obligations. The FAFSA still applies for graduate school, so just make sure you're still applying for that. That's how they determine grants and federal loan options for folks. And then the last piece, of course, is scholarships. These might be housed within the university that you're attending for graduate school, the college, maybe just within your department. Also be aware of state scholarships, local organization, maybe corporate scholarships. And so just keep an eye on those pieces. And again, these will be different based on your degree. So when we talked about master's versus PhD, certificates, professional programs, those are all very different eligibility pieces. So just read through all your financial options. So just want to talk about some campus resources now, to help folks continue to explore and engage in this conversation after today's presentation. The Career Center also offers a lot of graduate school resources, right? So they might offer major to career roadmap. That's something that you can find specifically on their website. So when you go to the Career Center website, you'll go to resources. The resource page will look kind of like a blog, and then you can explore different fields. So you can either type in maybe like animal sciences, or there might already be a category option for animal sciences. And typically most of them have something that's called the major to career roadmap. So it's basically a roadmap that the Career Center has created for most fields, kind of giving them a overview of like, here are some of the things that you can do in your field, kind of some pathways, right? And so I wish I had an example here, and I wish I would have screenshotted it for this presentation, but I really just want to encourage folks to use the Career Center in different ways, whether that's the drop-ins, maybe doing an appointment, going to their events, or looking at their resource page. It's all amazing and great resources. A lot of the things I pulled from there for this presentation. Again, one of those include major to career roadmaps. They typically also host a graduate school conference. They'll have the career fair, their handshake portal, drop-ins, all those things to help you explore your career and have some graduate school resources as well. Of course, your department. I keep talking about departments because these are the folks in the areas on campus that host things that are more related to your field. It might not always feel very like specific to like what you're looking for, but I think just continuing to engage in exploring those options. Um, I don't think hurt. I think if anything, just provide more information on things that you should know about your field. And so some of these might include workshops, panels, mentoring programs, things like that. So really take advantage of opportunities within your department. The last piece, of course, is going to be your professors and academic advisors, right? So really talk to these folks about your interest, because I think the more that you talk to just anyone about what you're interested in, or maybe letting them know, like, I don't know what to do in my field, I don't know where to get started. These are people who understand your field, know what's going on campus that could be applicable to you, and can offer some resources, tips, maybe even connections. And so really talk to everyone, because a lot of things come from like word of mouth, right? If someone knows someone, or someone knows of this resource, um, always things like that. So make sure to talk to your professors and academic advisors. And of course, us at the AAC, which leads me to the next piece. So just want to talk about some AAC resources to help students continue to engage in these conversations if you're still interested. So one of those includes the AAC Graduate School Conference. And so we just had our conference October 22nd. We recorded all of our sessions. We are sending an email that is going to have all this information. So it'll have all the session recordings, the presentations, handouts, all housed somewhere. And then you can also find that on our website. Let us know if you're not finding that information. And just know that the graduate school conference is hosted at every fall semester, typically in the month of October. So keep an eye on that moving forward. Another piece is just like the workshops that we host every semester for all of our programs. This is one of them. It's pre-recorded, but just know that we'll always offer different opportunities. And then of course, the last piece is your retention specialist. Connect with us. You might be at different stages in this exploration process, right? Maybe you already know you want to attend, and this is just like a refresher on like, okay, some of the things that I know I want to make sure that I cover, or like you're still not familiar with graduate school and you're like, I don't even think it's applicable to me. That's okay. Just make sure to talk to your retention specialist, because then they can help you create a plan on like what are things that you need. Then maybe you just need to focus on understanding your field and not even think about graduate school at the moment. Maybe that'll come later on. Or thinking about what are some ways that we can help you build that plan in that timeline and make sure that you get all your application materials in if you're ready to apply. So just some things to consider. AAC resources are always available to you. Just want to give you all a huge thank you for engaging in this pre-recording. Again, my name is Diana. I'm one of the retention specialists. Please make sure to fill out the CLIF evaluation for Classic if you're a Classic student, which can be found on the Classic Thrive website, or for STEM, if you're a STEM Thrive student, make sure to go to the STEM Thrive webpage and look for that evaluation. Thanks for engaging in this conversation, and just know that there are resources on our website for more graduate school / career preparation, and there are resources on campus for you as well. So make sure to engage with that. Thank you all. Have a great day.